Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. The Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. We're very excited to have the team of the Junior Golf Tour on from the section, led by Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is the director of the Junior Golf program for the section. Kevin is a graduate of the University of Laverne, graduated with a business degree in 2011, and he's been the director of the Junior Golf program since 2015. Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for joining us on the Catalyst webinar series this morning.
Morning, John. Thanks very much for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity, and we're excited to be here and share a little with you all about the SCPGA Junior Tour. Many of you may have a pretty good understanding of our program, but for those of you who are less familiar with us, we hope that this catalyst will prove to be beneficial for you. As you can see from the graphic provided here on the screen, our Junior Tour is a three-tiered program. Starting with our JDT is entry-level competitions for juniors who have little or no previous competitive golf experience. So these players in the JDT are basically trying to attain qualifying scores in order to move up and advance to the more challenging Players Tour. And from there, the Players Tour is designed for players who have previous competitive experience. And most of these players will score anywhere from even par to low 90s typically on a regulation length golf course. And the majority of these players, especially at the top end, are really trying to qualify and move up for a coveted spot on the Toyota Tour Cup, which we know can be very challenging, especially in today's world. From there, our Toyota Tour Cup is the smallest portion of our program in terms of membership, but certainly the most competitive. This program is designed for the most skilled juniors in the region, and they must continue to play well if they want to retain their exemption for the following year. Similar to the PGA Tour, if they don't play well, they can essentially lose their spot and be bumped back down to the Players Tour when their exemption runs out. So as you can see here, the really nice thing about our program is that there's a place for nearly every junior golfer to compete based on their age and skill level. And if you want to move to the next slide, Amberlynn, please. Just going over some basic information, demographics, and alumni news for our program as well. This year in 2021, we have 2,546 members. That's a 10% increase from the year 2020. We do host about 290 tournaments annually. That's expected to exceed over 350 next year. We'll get into that further on down the road, but we're making some pretty big changes to expand our program for the year 2022, but still nearly 300 tournaments a year. If you add up total tournament days, it far exceeds that as well. We host events for juniors all the way from ages 5 to 19. 47% of our membership is at the top end of that, between the ages of 15 and 19. And then this is a number that we key in a lot with our junior golf committee as well over the years. We have 63.5% male to 36.5% female in our program. That number's gone up exponentially over the years. In the past, I'd say, 12, 15 years ago, we were at 25% female in our program. So that number has continued to grow and grow and grow to the point where we're getting closer to that 60-40 split, hopefully here pretty soon. But certainly a nice number that we like to key in on from time to time as well. So we transition over to some alumni news, just to give you all a little background of our program and some of the people who have come through it in recent years. We have 16 alumni on the PGA Tour. 3 of those players are in the top 10 of the world golf rankings currently. Colin Morikawa, our recent Open champion, Xander Schauffele, the recent gold medal winner from the Olympic Games, and then Patrick Cantlay, who I think his most recent win was at the Memorial a couple months ago. So we have 3 really prominent alumni, also, Tiger and Phil and Ricky and many others too, really, really big names out there. We have 15 alum on the LPGA Tour, 2 players in the top 25 of the Rolex Women's World Golf Rankings, and those would be Danielle Kang and Lizette Salas. Again, 2 really prominent alumni. We also have Rose Zhang, who is the #1 amateur in the world and has been ever since she won the women's amateur last August. So we have a lot of people who have come through the program, a lot of NCAA champions. In fact, the Pepperdine squad that won recently for the men, 4 of the 5 players on that team are alums of our program as well. So it's a very big program with nearly 3,000 members. And the Toyota Tour Cup provides a really good proving ground for these players who essentially move on to the collegiate and, soon to be the professional ranks as well. So thank you, John. I'll kick it back to you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for the overview of the program. Next up on the docket will be the manager of the Junior Development Tour, Eddie Rodarty. Eddie Rodarty is a 26-year PGA member who's had experience in head golf professional and director of instruction positions at publics and privates. He's also the manager as well of the outreach and inclusion program for the section. Good morning, Eddie. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, and good morning, everybody. Glad you're here. The JDT, like Kevin had mentioned earlier, is the entry level to our 3-tiered program. It is what I'd call the teaching tour. We play 9-hole tournaments. We have 3 age divisions, 5 to 7 that can have a parent caddy, 8 to 11-year-old divisions, and then 12 and over divisions. We play primarily on executive lengths, our par 3 golf courses in 9-hole events. We're not trying to define a player's ability on the JDT. We're trying to teach them what to do, where to stand, where not to stand, how to fix a ball mark, how to rake the bunker, pace of play, how to keep a scorecard, how to take a drop, say from an immovable obstruction, just the things that the players, as they move on to the Players Tour and beyond, should know by rote is what we do. So we teach, we're very hands-on on the JDT. And because of that, they want to all make it to the next level to the Players Tour. So we're not a points-based program. It's just attaining those 3 qualifying scores. For a boy on the JDT, they have to be 9 years old, and they have to have 3 scores of 7 over par or better within a calendar year to be able to apply to go to the Players Tour. And for girls, they have to have 3 scores of 8 over par or better to be able to apply to move on to the Players Tour. We do host, normally we host about 86 golf tournaments a year. We did in 2021, and due to the high demand, and COVID was in a great deal, and part of the reason why these things have changed, but the demand for JDT golf tournaments was so large that we ended up having to stop new memberships in June this year. Registrations for JDT events were filling up within the first 2 minutes of opening. So we are, as Kevin alluded to earlier, we're going to be changing the program. We're going to be adding quite a few more events, another 78 tournaments in the 2022 schedule. It's an incredible thing. It started out much smaller, and the JDT is just growing and growing. We also conduct JDT clinics at various golf courses that host our events to introduce the game and introduce the SCPGA Junior Tour to families who may not have known about it and want to give their children an opportunity to take a look at it and participate. And we've had some really good success, doing that. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been difficult this year with the amount of players and the number of events and COVID. There are normally about 18 to 19 golf courses that we use. And we've lost 10 of those golf courses this year and still haven't gotten them back due to COVID. So we hope that the new year, the new season is going to bring a lot of those golf courses back, and we're going to be able to expand and offer a full schedule for the JDT moving into 2022. And that's pretty much the overview for the JDT right now. I'd like to go ahead and hand it back to John.
Okay, thank you very much, Eddie, for the overview on the Junior Development Tour. Amber Lynn Dorsey is the manager of the Players Tour. Amber Lynn played golf at the University of Redlands. She's been a section employee since 2016. She earned her PGA Class A membership in 2020. She also recently has picked up a specialization in executive management under the 3.0 program. Congratulations on that, Amber. Amber, you're managing up the Players Tour. It's all yours.
Thank you for that intro, John. Like John said, I'm the manager of the Players Tour, and I've been with this tour for the last 4 years now, and I've witnessed many changes within the program. The Players Tour is the main flagship of the Junior Tour, and we boast approximately 1,700 members aged 9 through 18 who have access to just over 160 events annually. Included in those events, we have 12 events in our 2-day series, which are sent to AJGA and Junior Golf Scoreboard, and we have 3 season-ending championships as well. Tournament experience is required along with intermediate through advanced skill level. If a player does not have those, they have to start in the JDT and qualify up. Like Kevin mentioned, the ultimate goal of most Players Tour members is to qualify for the Toy Tour Cup, which we'll have Tyler C. talk about a little bit later. Going back to COVID, once COVID-19 hit, for the Players Tour in specific, 23 courses that we normally use were either not willing or were unable to book us due to the virus. On top of that, we had an additional 11 courses that were unavailable due to construction on the golf course, such as Green River or Dad Miller, that made it impossible to host an 18-hole event. We also, unfortunately, had a few courses who were no longer interested in hosting junior events. Some courses even now have strict policies such as only allowing us to book one golf course per year and on a weekday only. So that's definitely put an impasse in booking tournaments for the last few years. So we decided to expand to other areas where tournaments were allowed and courses were willing to host us. This included more events in the high desert area, Palm Springs, Ventura, and San Diego to make up for the lost events in LA. As you can see in the diagram, 2020 is the one on the left, and the dark blue, if you can read it, that's all Los Angeles tournaments. So that made up a big chunk of our schedule, especially in the spring in 2020. This year, spring of this year, the circle looks a lot better. Personally, to me, it's more reminiscent of the Southern California Junior Tour because we did expand to more areas and we hosted more tournaments in those areas. Although many of our members are not located in these areas, people are willing to drive, and they are willing to drive to these nicer golf courses that were hosting us. Golf courses like Monterey Country Club and John Kulo, thank you for hosting us. They were some of the new tournaments that we hosted this year. And the added benefit, we were seeing more new members from within these areas. To put it in perspective, we used 57 different golf courses this year for the Players Tour alone, which included the single days and multi-day events. Compared to 2019, we had 49 different courses. Out of those 49 different golf courses from 2019, we only used 20 of those in 2021 due to the COVID-19 issues I discussed a little bit earlier ago. Thankfully, we found these different courses willing to host us. And like I mentioned, John Kula was one of them, and he will be our 2022 Junior PGA Championship host next year, which will be a very fun time, and I'm looking forward to it. Moving more, we spoke a little bit briefly, Kevin and Eddie spoke briefly about the pandemonium that occurred. Like they mentioned, since returning to golf, our events have been filling within 1 minute with 50 to 60 players on the waiting list as well. We had to implement priority registration policies for our multi-day events, so more players were able to garner that experience. Like Eddie mentioned, JDT memberships were suspended in the beginning of June, and Players Tour memberships will be suspended at the end of this month due to the demand. With the graphic you see on the screen to the left, you can see all of our fall events. Most of them have 50 players, which is max capacity on waiting lists. Further, for the numbers listed at the bottom, at 19,887, that's the active participants in our events this year to date in all of our programs. And this doesn't include players that withdrew mid-round or were disqualified. The number next to it, the 4,624, that is the number of registrations this year to date that were left on the waiting list. So that's a lot of players trying to get in these tournaments, and we're unable to accommodate them. That's how big the impact COVID has had in getting these players to wanting to golf these days. We made many changes due to COVID-19. Some were not so much fun, such as requiring masks at almost all times and having players print their own materials. Through all of these difficulties, though, we wouldn't have been able to be so successful without great leadership from Kevin Smith, from Tom Addis, Nikki Gatch, or Jeff Johnson, or without our amazing team leaders and field staff who were out in the field constantly, upholding our policies, even though it was very difficult to do so. However, some changes we made may have everlasting effects, such as eliminating scoreboards. Even as we have gone back to normal, we still haven't utilized the scoreboards, and we're looking at using TVs for all of our events, including single days. Players and parents are so preoccupied at looking at their phones, not many members have even commented that they're missing handwritten scoreboards from our tournaments. Another change we made is using hole-by-hole live scoring by the players on Toy Tour Cup events, which may eventually take place in the Players Tour 2-day series as well. So the big question is, why not book a junior tour event? You can be a huge influence on developing the next generation of golfers. Obviously, there's a lot of need for it and a lot of people who want to come out and play at your golf course. Our pace of play has greatly improved over the last few years. Without outstanding factors such as slow public play in front of us, we generally finish a tournament of 80 players in about 4 hours and 45 minutes. And there's no, drunk public play out there doing it. It's fun, good golf. Our 2-day events generally finish in 4.5 hours or even less, depending on the golf course conditions and the layout of the golf course. We are very self-sufficient, easy to work with. Hopefully John Kulo can confirm this after we had an event earlier this year. What we need is just to confirm the date, starting time, player count, and pricing. At the event itself, only a table and chair are necessary. Please ensure the first tee is ours at our starting time and make sure we don't run out of range balls. Then we will handle the rest of the day, and that's it. Many of our spectators use the F&B operations, and some courses take advantage of this by offering our junior tour members a hot dog combo the day of our event. Some courses even charge a spectating fee as extra income for that day. Many players will come out and play practice rounds prior to the actual event. Players that you wouldn't be at your course otherwise unless you're hosting a junior tour event. We will fill your tee sheet for you. Every time we go to Fullerton Golf Course, Jeff knows we have 128 players in tow every single time. This includes no extra work from the golf course to get that tee sheet filled with foursomes, and it does not require you to use that pesky Golf Now feature of discounting random tee times to get more action out there on the golf course. Your golf course will be marketed on our website. As you can see, we have on that schedule, we have all the golf courses coming up. And oftentimes we use social media to post our events. As you can see, we had Jeanette Choi who won our event at Red Hawk, and we had just about 240 likes on that post. This happens quite frequently at some of our bigger events. Another plus is we book a majority of our weekend events, but we also book weekdays in the summer. If you work at a country club who's closed on Mondays, we can book a junior tournament with you on that day, and your facility will be able to bring in extra revenue that you otherwise wouldn't. So why wouldn't you want to book a junior tour event? But just like for the Players Tour members, the next step for all of you is to talk to our Toy Tour Cup. So without further ado, I'll have John introduce our TTC coordinator. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much, Amberlynn. And thanks for the Monterey plugs on promoting junior golf in the section. And I'll talk about it a little bit more after Tyler's presentation, but there's a lot of interesting dynamics going on in terms of junior golf promotion amidst this golf boom and where courses lie in terms of growing the game and driving revenue and the conflict that exists therein. Next up on the docket this morning, the manager for the Toyota Tour Cup, Tyler C. Tyler C. has been with the section for 2 years. He's a UC Santa Barbara graduate. He played golf there as well and majored in sports management. He also worked with the Nike Junior Golf Camps at Pebble Beach. Good morning, Tyler. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, everybody. Excited to be here. Welcome to the Toyota Tour Cup, our top level tour on the junior tour. So it is by invitation only. So there's 3 different ways to qualify. First, so we have 3 different seasons throughout the year on the Players Tour: spring, summer, fall. And the top 5 boys and top 3 girls from each season in each age division qualify for a Toyota Tour Cup. Then we have 2 Q schools each year, one in the spring, one in the fall. And top 10% of finishers at that 2-day event are in Toyota Tour Cup exemptions. And then we have approximately 14 single-day qualifiers throughout the year, where the top 5 boys, top 3 girls in that qualifier will earn an exemption into one specific Toyota Tour Cup event. And so with that, players must retain their exemption throughout the year. In order to do that, for normal members, it's a top 10 for boys and a top 6 for girls will earn them an exemption through the end of the next calendar year. But like the nice little thing we have for the single day qualifiers, if they finish top 15 for the boys or top 10 for the girls, then they get an exemption through the end of the current calendar year. So it kind of helps, filter in people as we go. 24 nationally ranked events annually. So approximately 1 every other weekend. And then during the summer, we're a little busier, 11 months out the year, constantly going. The results are submitted to Junior Golf Scoreboard, which is like the top ranking website, as well as AJGA, Golf Week, and Wagger. Some of our main alumni include Colin Morikawa, Danielle Kang, Xander Schauffele, Lizette Salas, Patrick Cantlay, Matthew Wolf. Just so many great players come out of the program. And we have approximately 300 members on the Toyota Tour Cup, apart from the 1,700 in the Players Tour. So approximately 200 boys, 100 girls. And I'd probably say about 70% retain their membership each year. Then we have the nice filtering out of the lower end players and bringing in new players. So it's a nice little feature we have. And so onto the courses for Toyota Tour Cup. So out of the 24 events this year, 2021, 14 of those courses host us on a yearly basis. So we're very thankful to be able to go to those courses each year, and all the staff is wonderful in accommodating us. Approximately 10 of those courses have discontinued this year, hosting us mainly just due to pricing and weekend issues. As we all know, the industry is just booming so much. So, you know, they have to up their prices, and, you know, we understand it's just a business. So we've had to try to find new sites, which can be a challenge sometimes, but we are very thankful for those that have, you know, let us into their facilities, and we've built great relationships that way. So, and as a result of that, we've had to book multiple events at the same course to accommodate for these changes. Big thank you to Industry Hills, who's kind of our flagship course, and then also Indian Wells out in the desert. So very thankful for those facilities. In 2021, 6 of the host courses were private clubs, a number that has decreased throughout the years. And, you know, part of that's from the members. You know, they don't, on the weekends, they like to have their weekend play, and we can't blame them. You know, we all want to golf. But, you know, we are very thankful to be out at those private clubs, especially during the summer. We kind of do Monday, Tuesday. So that way, one day the course is closed and we're taking less play from the membership. But overall, you know, we love to have the kids out on the private clubs because, first off, the courses are a lot nicer, and we can offer those high-end courses for our high-end players. And as well, just, you know, a lot of times the membership is very helpful and very accommodating and love to talk to the players. And it creates overall a great feel for the tournament, and the players feel valued. So overall, Toyota Tour Cup, it's a bunch of fun, and we see so many great players play. And I'd probably say almost 50% of our players go on to play Division I golf. I'm actually an alumni of the Toyota Tour Cup, played Division I golf. So I'm just like super thankful to be a part of it. And without further ado, we'll kick it back to John.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Some questions. For everybody that's on the webcast, you are able to unmute and ask questions directly of the 4 panelists this morning. A couple questions that I've formulated and statements to encourage conversation. And I've seen it firsthand working with Amber Lynn in terms of bringing the SCPGA to Monterey Country Club, which, you know, before the pandemic, we've never been asked to host junior events just because of the location and the inconvenience of having to get out there for a lot of the Southern California population, and the fact that the section was able to book events at locations that were in the metropolitan area. My question, I don't know if it's more for Amber or more for all of you, or maybe Kevin, is the difficulty in booking venues post-COVID, is it, or even towards the tail end of COVID, was it as a result of an abundance of caution for the virus itself, or was it the facility wanting to take advantage of member play, if it was private, or public play, to drive revenue to get more rack rate greens fees, as opposed to filling days with junior golf events, which are discounted green fees? What was the consensus? Was it, can you speak about that?
Yeah, I guess I can go first, and Kevin, if you want to jump in. Most difficult thing with booking tournaments for this year and last year was the regulations, especially with LA County. They just couldn't do it, unfortunately. So it wasn't that they couldn't do it, or wouldn't do it. They couldn't simply do it. So there had a lot of regulations in place. The other tournaments that could, other golf courses that could do it, I would say pricing was a huge factor. Without saying specific golf courses, we had one that would book weekend. It's a pretty higher end public golf course. They would book us for, I think, $70 or $75 for a weekend event. They're changing that to $95 next year. So they're going quite a bit more expensive next year than we can really handle, I would say, for a junior tour event. And that's kind of across the board for many of the golf courses that we are going to. Many of the ones that haven't really contacted us back, they're more interested in just having public play out there and not having to deal with juniors. I think there's a kind of a diluted perception on juniors and the junior tour events out there. They think that maybe they have a very slow pace of play. They leave the golf course in a much more of a mess than when they arrived. And I think those, perceptions need to be changed because they're just simply not true. And once we get there, I think we'll be able to book a lot more tournaments at more places throughout Southern California and take full advantage of all the beautiful golf courses we have in the area.
It's definitely it's a tough one because, myself personally as a PGA member, I'm obligated to grow the game and preserve the future of the game. But at the same time, I have owners and employers that demand me to maximize my revenue, especially coming off of a huge chunk of time where we were revenue starved in a lot of ways, particularly in the private events. So that demand to get that bang for your buck as a business operator is there as well. So it's a tough situation, no question.
I think another issue, John, is a lot of the people that work at the golf course, they don't realize we're booking maybe 4, 5 hours, 6 hours sometimes of straight tee times at one price. When you're having public play out there, generally after a certain period of time, you decrease those prices as the day wears on. That's not the case with the junior tour event. We're not asking for a price break once we hit that 1 p.m. mark. Generally, once we contract that price, that's the price we contract for the 5 hour of tee times we have. So I think that's a big difference and something that a lot of golf courses don't realize when we're coming out to the golf courses. We're not looking for those same price breaks that you'd be giving to the public when you reach that afternoon point. We have some of our 9-holer players that are being charged the same rate as an 18-hole participant from the golf course. They don't give any price breaks for 19-hole players.
Now, do you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, but all the clubs and the courses that are not returning calls to you and are not basically showing that they are not interested in bringing back the junior tours, what do you attribute that to?
I just think it's less hassle for them just to have the public play out there. To be honest, I think they expect us to have significantly lower prices. And what we've come to realize this past year is that these players, they will travel. These players, they will pay more expensive rates to go play these nicer golf courses. So that's not the issue. The issue, we don't need, the $20 green fees that some golf courses may expect. Try to work with us, find a happy medium. And we can guarantee you quite a huge amount of players out there at your golf course. I don't know if Kevin or Eddie has something else similar to say or go off of that.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that, Amber or John. I'd say that's pretty accurate and spot on. I think a lot, again, is attributed just to the fact that it is so incredibly busy. And a lot of these places do have, men's club and things of that nature that would participate on a Saturday or Sunday morning. And that's only increased in the past year, I would assume, due to COVID as well. So I'm sure it just gets a little challenging for them to, again, book out the tee sheet. But like Amber mentioned, the nice thing is we're paying, in most cases, rack rate. We're really, really close to it. And again, that 5 hours worth of tee times, it's not decreasing at any point. So we'll probably start around 10 a.m. So we're not typically starting at 7 a.m. prime time. It's more 10 a.m. starts typically, especially this time of the year where we're light till later in the evening. And those tee times will go through easily 2 o'clock, in some cases, close to 3 o'clock. So at nearly a rack rate. So that's kind of the nice thing. Again, a part of it too, a major part of the reason for the trouble last year was, again, just due to the fact that especially our two biggest a couple of the biggest groups that we coordinate and contract with, they just simply weren't allowed to host outside events. And it wasn't their fault. Obviously, it was more due to the virus and concerns of gatherings and things of that nature too. So that certainly put a lot of pressure on us to find and expand to new areas as well.
Certainly. Well, the demand certainly is reminiscent of what it was like in the Tiger era in the late 90s, where on the private side, we didn't have to do anything creatively with membership. We just sold at rack rate. And on the public side, we just opened the doors and we didn't have to creatively market our tee sheets or our membership programs. And I'm seeing it personally here in Monterey, where every fall I had a big campaign on what we were going to do for membership for the upcoming season. And last year was fresh off of COVID. And even this year, it's almost like we all we're doing is raising the price, and we're not even marketing it more. And it almost promotes a sense of laziness with the popularity and the rise of the game. Again, it's something as PGA members and golf operators we need to be concerned about and aware of, and not falling back into that laziness of not driving your tee sheet, not driving your membership. Thank you very much, guys. Another question. Can we talk, and I'll throw this out to any of you, and I think you'll probably all defer to Kevin, but the ADM model, where does that fit in terms of the philosophies and the curriculum of the three tours?
Yeah, that's a good question, John. I know that's something that we're starting to focus more on, especially at the JDT level, trying to get these kids to realize that, again, that the time spent on the golf course should be a little bit more broad than just that, and using other movements, physically, other sports and other avenues that way to grow and expand, and to just, again, we don't want them to necessarily just focus purely on the game of golf. And I know that I don't want to put Eddie on the spot, but I don't know if Eddie has anything to add to that. Just as we continue to expand the JDT program, as we continue to expand our clinic program and outreach as well. Again, I'll say it's not something that we focused on too incredibly much here so far, but certainly something that I think as the years progress, we'll continue to really focus and hone in on as well.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be a big part of what we're doing as we're moving forward, especially with the number of events that we're going to be hosting. We're going to be very cognizant of it and try to grow the game correctly. Our goal is to help these kids to understand that this could be their career, their amateur career in golf. And we want to try to make it the best possible arena for that to happen. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think 2022 is going to be a very good year for the SCPGA Junior Tour.
No, I think we notice a lot with the ADM model on the Players Tour and Toy Tour Cup, where some of these parents don't diversify enough for these kids. And we'll notice it, some kids that start golfing at 4 and that's all they do is golf. They get homeschooled so they can spend most of their time at the golf course. And Travis and I and Tyler, of course, we develop relationships with some of these players and we know them on social media. They maybe spend 1 year playing college golf and then they quit playing golf and they just spend time in college because they didn't really know anything else growing up, and that's all they were kind of taught to do was play golf. So I think it's very important, and I try to speak a lot to the parents I talk to. Enjoy your time playing junior golf and other sports. It's what I did. I played soccer and I played badminton as well when I was in high school. I didn't start playing golf till I was 15, so it wasn't my whole life. And I try to recommend that to other people and players as well.
Well, as a JDT parent, caddy, and daddy caddy and spectator, I certainly see the roots of burnout, at the JDT level at boys and girls that are in the age bracket of 5, 6, and 7. And I keep myself very tight-lipped, and I'm very much a customer at that point, and so I don't cross those lines into communications like that with parents that I see. But you certainly see the pressure mounting and the expectation on the little ones, and it ultimately history has shown that will chase them away from the game. And I was just curious if not just the JDT, and perhaps not the JDT at all, but more the Players Tour and the Toyota Cup, if there's any programs in place or interesting stories or philosophies that we have as a section to help de-emphasize that pressure that sometimes the parents can put on the children.
Yeah, that's a great point, John, and something I think too that'll continue to be a more of a focus as the years progress here. Like you said, especially the Toyota Tour Cup level and Players Tour, where they tend to be really, really, really focused on just specifically golf. And we do see that a lot, as you mentioned. I know Amber and Tyler certainly see it a lot as well. And Amber mentioned it too. It does provide burnout for a lot of these players, either right as they're about to go to college or in the middle of their college experience. So it's definitely something that I think too, we can focus in on more, just to provide that message and that education piece for them. a lot of people just are simply unaware and think that you have to focus only on the game of golf and spend, how many countless hours, 40 plus hours a week in practice and playing and things of that nature. So definitely a good education piece for us going forward.
Yeah, and of course, culturally, there's a huge cultural impact on that as well when it comes to those expectations. But I see it all the time on the JDT as a father. Thank you for that. You had mentioned, Tyler, you had mentioned live scoring on the Toyota Cup. Is that through Golf Genius? We're doing that with all of our member games at Monterey, and scoreboards definitely have vanished from the face of the earth in favor of live scoring on everybody's phone, and even on our television sets in our bar, we've got we've got live results of the member events that are going on there on the course. And if we're doing it at Monterey, where my average age of our membership is 67, and they're all linked up on smartphones and doing live scoring, it must be super prevalent on a Toyota Tour Cup. Can you talk about that dynamic and what kind of support we offer? And to answer my first question, is this all being done through Golf Genius?
Oh, so our main provider is Blue Golf. So we do it all through Blue Golf, and we have a SCPGA Junior Tour app where kids they have a check-in code at the beginning, and we check them in, and then they do it on their phones as they go throughout the round. And I mean, everybody loves it, especially the parents, because they're all on their phones on the app or on the website, checking the live scoring. And then we also have a TV at scoring where, kids can see the live scoring coming in. So that's been a really great addition, I believe, to what we're doing. And, just overall makes it feel more like a professional tournament. And, I know the other tours do use Golf Genius, but I really like the Blue Golf system that we use. And I definitely think it's a part of the future of golf for any level, whether junior golf or, your members at Monterey.
And so is there an actual physical scorecard that the players are accountable for keeping?
Yes, we still do that just to kind of keep the traditional sense of the game. I do know that some sections, such as I believe a section in Texas, actually completely did away with physical scorecards, and they just do the live scoring, and then they still do the scoring at the end of the round where they all kind of check in. But we felt it was easiest for our players to at least have a physical scorecard to double check things, and also only one person in the group we assign to live scoring versus everybody. So that way, everybody is keeping updated with the scores, and just to prevent cheating and stuff. So, and I'm a big fan of the paper scorecard. Just makes it feel like a real tournament. So, yeah, we do both.
Well, which is the card to settle all discrepancies?
The paper scorecard. The online, the app is more just kind of for the aesthetic, for everybody and the parents to know. And 99% of the time the scores are right, but you never know if some kid that isn't keeping score for one specific player gets a score wrong. So we still make sure to do the paper scorecards, and just that way each person's only responsible for one person, and then they come into scoring and they still do 2 signatures on the cards, and that card is their official score.
Now, final question, and again, all the attendees on the live webcast this morning, you have the ability to unmute and ask a question, and we encourage you to do so. If you've got a statement or a comment or a question to make, we'd love to have you jump in. One final question from me, more of a marketing question. When I was growing up, playing the SC Junior PGA events was the only game in town. It was, aside from AJGA, which was obviously you had to be a much higher caliber player to participate in those, and you had to have resources to be able to travel. In this day and age, with the Futures Tour, with the US Kids Golf, and all of the other tours that are out there that obviously people start for monetary reasons, how do we compete with them? How do we establish ourselves as the tour to play? And what is our business model for beating the competition?
Yeah, I would personally say that we are the #2 tour in the nation, right behind the AJGA. And AJGA obviously just is ahead of us because they're nationwide. But I think in terms of talent, you're going to see the best talent coming from Southern California. I think I actually looked at it the other day on Junior Golf Scoreboard, and I think of the top 200 boys in the nation, something like 30 boys were from our program. And then of the top 100 girls in the nation, I think something like 20 were from our program. And, the rest are all scattered around. So you're just getting the highest level of competition, and you're getting the most condensed competition. So, for example, the future champions tours, there's no real, invitation type feel to it. So you'll get players that shoot 90 and 100 and stuff, and nobody wants to do that. And I think they play in foursomes also, and we play in threesomes, which kind of gives it more of an official tournament feel, and also helps pace of play. So our pace of play is really big on Toyota Tour Cup. We're always right around 4:30. Sometimes kids are coming in way under 4:30. And that just goes to show that, these kids are there to compete. And again, like our percentage of kids that go on to play D1 golf, it's something like 50%. It's got to be. And that's just like really remarkable versus probably FCG and other tours. I mean, maybe closer to 20%, if that. So mainly just like how condensed the talent is and how much everybody cares. And, in terms of marketing, that in itself markets itself. If all the players are seeing all the best players playing the same tournaments over and over, everybody wants to play in those tournaments because we all want to play with the best, right? And multiple of our members go out and win AJGA events all the time. I think every single one that was hosted in California this year was won by one of our members, as well as other parts of the nation as well. Our kids love to travel as well. So, it's marketing. We don't have to do much of it because the tour speaks for itself. And that's kind of the coolest part about it all. And, it keeps the best coming back. And when you see our alumni, I played with Colin Morikawa and Matt Wolf, and it's like, these guys were just ridiculous. And you see that and you go, okay, like these were all the best are. And we want to play with that. So overall, I think we're in a great position. I think we're number 2 in the nation, right behind AJGA, and maybe even more condensed than the AJGA, the talent. Because sometimes even AJGA, they have somewhat of an invitational status with their points or their stars system. But even then you're getting kids that aren't as talented, but our kids, they got to earn it to get to our tour.
Indeed.
I'm gonna jump in on that one. But I also want to add, I think our staff makes a difference as well. We have Eddie, who does tremendous job and great effort in hosting these clinics that pulls these little kids in and gets them interested and passionate in golf. Tyler C and Travis, they connect with the Toy Tour kids on such a huge level. Kevin and I talk about it all the time. If we ever have to go to a Toy Tour Cup event, they're always asking for Tyler or Travis because they just have a way with these kids. Travis in particular, he has a way of reading back scorecards where he'll say birdie every time someone makes a birdie. So he'll be like 5-4 birdie, 5, 4, 6, 7 birdie, and the kids just go crazy for it. And these are the things that other tours I don't think have. They don't have that connection. AJGA has so many different people running their events. They don't have that connection, and it's that connection that we have with our members that makes us unique and special.
I think too, John, not to take this too far, but there's very few programs out there that have kind of the start point with JDT, the end point with Toyota Tour Cup like we do. So again, we kind of have that filtration system. We can take the very beginner player at the JDT level and help them grow and expand their game to move up to the Players Tour, and then give them another place to shoot for as those kids are trying to attain status on the Toyota Tour Cup. So I think there's so many programs here locally too, and we work so closely with many of them. We work closely with San Diego Junior Golf and North County, Valley Junior Golf, FCG. I contact those folks on occasion too. Antron and the team, we've got good relationships with them, and Mark Whiff up in Ventura. So we know it's such a small business, obviously, and there's so many players in the game right now, but we do have really good relationships with all those programs. So yes, while it is competition, at the same point, I think we all collaborate and work together to continue to grow and impact the game the best we can. We've got a situation right now, Amber and Eddie both mentioned, we had to stop taking memberships recently for JDT. And so I had a lot of players up in that North LA area that really wanted to join JDT, and we had to turn them away because the demand was so high. So I gave them Mark Whiff's contact information, told them to go play Ventura County Junior Golf. So again, there's some competition, but at the same point, we do collaborate and work well together. And we enjoy seeing our players play well in those programs. And I think they enjoy seeing their players play well in our programs as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Those are all the questions we have this morning. Want to, on behalf of the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA, would like to thank Amber Lynn, Kevin, Tyler, and Eddie for your time and sharing your expertise and experiences this morning on the webcast. For all the PGA members that are on the live webcast this morning, you will receive 1 MSR credit for attending. And thank you very much for supporting the Catalyst webinar series. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Amber Lynn, Tyler, Eddie, thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.